Celtic are champions of Scotland. Sum up, how's it feel?
Yeah, this is unbelievable. This is what dreams are made of. The lads have been absolutely first class all season. The whole club has came together after a disappointing season last year, and we all get our rewards tonight. These fans are unbelievable as well.
I don't know if anyone will be able to hear this. Just listen to this. What does it mean to win it for these fans?
Yeah, it means everything. This is why we play for this club, is to give the fans nights like this, special nights that will live with them forever. So proud of this group of players, so proud of the management staff, everyone at Lennoxtown, everyone at the whole club has played their part, so that's for everyone.
G'day legends and welcome to the Celtic Down Under podcast. I'm your host Jared, and joining me tonight is John, Liam, and some sort of weird hypercolour unicorn called Sean in Perth. How are you, Mr. Unicorn?
I'm champion, mate. Just champion.
How's it going, Liam?
I'm thinking I might have to change my drugs after what I've just seen. Otherwise, I'm fine.
And John, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing excellent, Jared. I'm doing good. It's good to be winners again.
Yeah, it's a great moment to be a Celtic fan. Great moment to be an Australian Celtic fan, or based in Australia and Japan. In Liam's case, with Ange coming from a Japanese club, it's just we've got a run sheet for tonight's pod, but I don't really think we're going to stick to it, to be honest with you, because we're champions. Life's good. Get around that big Ange. Get around Celtic Down Under, and everyone out there who gave Ange pelters when he was announced and appointed, now that it's official, we told you so, get it up here. And that's for the media, that's for the Celtic Dars who wanted, Neil Lennon not sacked last year, that's for anyone who doubted him, but there's not many left, so love it. Happy days. In Ange we trust. Get around it, can't wait for next season, even though it's still a game to go. I don't want this season to end. So, we normally would go and review the games since the last pod. So there was the 4-1 win against Hearts. We'll talk about that a little later, but we'll crack straight into this morning for us. Last night's game for the guys over in Glasgow. Well worth, even though it was a 1-1 draw, well worth a 4 a.m. wake up for a 4:30 kickoff, in my opinion. John, what was your thoughts on the game?
Well, you say it was well worth it, and I certainly did not wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I had meetings all today. So, but what I did do was watch it in my office the second I could. So I just had a delayed reaction, really. What did I think of the game? I thought we just look. I can't really be that critical. We got what we wanted. What's the point, really going into who didn't play well and what we thought of the first half? All of that, I decided. My opinion is we got what we needed. So, just great to see. You clearly see the reaction from the lads afterwards. It meant a lot to them, and it clearly that sort of. You do get players coming through clubs from time to time who just see an accolade as another thing in their trophy, but for our boys it clearly meant a lot. So just we got the point. That's all we needed.
Liam, what was your thoughts overall?
Oh, it was great. Watched the game live with my dad on the phone, and it's always special when you win a league, and not being able to watch it with my dad in person as I used to. This was the next best thing, and just it was nice. We had a really good experience, and just not to put a down on things, but remember my Uncle Frank, who's no longer here, and last time I was at Celtic Park, he was by my side, and wherever he is now, I'm sure he enjoyed last night as much as we all did, and it was absolutely glorious.
Sean, you?
Yeah, look, if you're taking the game in isolation, it wasn't a great game from a Celtic supporter's perspective. Just the game on its own, Dundee United were pretty good. They were committed. They had really good organisation. They were pressing, closing the angles, all things that they did not do the last two trips we had to Tannadice, where we cuffed them 3-0 both times. So I was kind of expecting more of the same, and it wasn't that. They really did nullify us, and it looked like one of those games where it was going to take a kind of high ball header fluke set piece to score the goal, and we got that from Giakoumakis. And they poured a little bit of cold water on the night. The first goal we've conceded domestically from outside the box this season.
I'm not,
It was a
really,
worldie.
not complaining about that, Sean. That was a worldie. That was a one.
No, I'm just saying, look, it's going to happen at some point. It's just bad timing. It was kind of, and I'm not even bothered about drawing so much as the fact that it kind of takes away the narrative of Giakoumakis scored the goal to win the league kind of thing. You can still kind of do it a bit, but I personally really like those old looking back, and when you can pick on one person like Tommy Johnson, Harold Bratback, Nakamura, like that, Tom Rogic, Scott Brown, like you pick these goals, the goal that won the league kind of thing, and it kind of Jan Vinegar of Hesselink, it takes that away, but even still, it's Dundee United actually probably deserved the draw, but once the final whistle went, the Celtic fans went mental, and it didn't really feel like a draw at that point.
It was strange though, because like for me, yeah, any other game we play, a draw is kind of a disappointment. And to get a draw and then to celebrate like that, it seems strange. But at the same time, because of what we've gone through, last time we won the league, there was no fans there because season was ended early. Then there was last season, which was an absolute clusterfuck. And then there's this time we've got crowd there. So it's basically 3 years worth of built up, pent up like celebration and emotion that needs to be outpoured in some way. And to do that, to see that, it was just unbelievable.
Well, you're saying 3 years. We're 16 months removed from the Dubai shambles. We're 18, 19 months removed from supporters attacking the team bus. We're about 14, 15 months removed from losing at home to the worst team in the league. At home, like bedsheet banners outside Celtic Park. These are just over a year to a year and a half ago, these things happening.
It's crazy how much things have changed and how everything's moved along. So, yeah, it's good to see. But with the game, the one thing for me is also it was one of those games that got a little nervy towards the end there. And I'm normally not one of those people that gets really affected by it. There's a few times I'm like, come on, just get off your line, Joe. Come and claim that ball. There's a few times. And then, so I've cracked it. I've yelled that at my TV at whatever stupid o'clock. And then next thing you know, the ball comes back to him and he just starts playing keep you up. And I'm like, okay, we've won. As soon as we did that, I'm like, okay, we're good. So that was the settler for any nerves I had. But yeah, it was league's done. Got a game to go.
On Hart, did anybody see Joe Hart's Instagram story from after last night?
No,
oh my,
don't go on Instagram.
Christ! Right, well, it'll be on some sort of social Twitter or whatever. They're like the scenes of the Celtic way when the team turned up, just looked incredible. Looked like a massive party, to be honest. And I think we all wish we were there. Yeah.
People were still at Celtic Park at 1 a.m. on a Thursday morning. That says it all. Fireworks going off, flares, the works. It's just one hell of a party. And I bet you can rock up there now and have a look, and there won't be a single park bench broken or anything.
Yeah.
It was a bit funny as well. The last kind of 5 minutes of the game, both teams kind of like looked like they were playing for one each. Like when Dundee United went 1-0 down, they really went for it because they knew they needed, or didn't know they needed, but they won. They were aiming for points to get the European spot, so they were like really gunning for it. Like
they would have known Rangers were thumping Motherwell, so then at that point they would have been like, okay,
County, but Motherwell. So it must have came through that Motherwell had beat Hearts, because that meant that, or whatever it was, that County were getting spanked. I don't know which one it was, but they've basically secured European football with that point, whereas they wouldn't have with 0 points. So in the last 5 minutes, it was like, this gives us what we need, both teams, like.
Yeah. But good to, I mean, look, I don't want to talk about it for much, but good to see Dundee United in European football.
Well, from what the strong rumours, the manager's going.
Yeah, right.
Again.
Going down to England.
There you go. That's a bit of an odd one. Starting to.
Mostly every 12 months, there'll be a new person coming and going from there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strongly linked with like League One, Championship type teams.
Thing is, going somewhere like that, he'll probably at least treble his wages. Dundee United are a reasonably big club, but they're not a particularly financially well-off club as far as I'm aware. So, anybody that's sort of a middling English team is going to be able to offer a lot more than they can, unfortunately. Which is a shame, because I think they've been a good team to watch this season, and I quite like that Tam Kurtz's style. I like the way he approaches things.
Good historic team in Europe.
Yep. Yeah, so that's them in Motherwell, and how Motherwell have got in Europe is beyond me, honest to God.
Yeah. Although, do you know what? Motherwell of late, maybe not this season or the season before, they've been an okay team. Do you know what I mean? Like, they've always been. Was there not one year they came third? Was that not like 2 or 3 years ago? And they seemed to do all right.
And then we bought the best player.
Every now and again they crack it, but it was just like they didn't win a league game for 3 months. Do you know what I mean? And they've still managed to get it.
That shows just how tight the league was from 4th through to like 8th or something like that, because it was that tight in there that teams are taking points off each other. It was like murderer's row in there. Like, who knows who's going to win every week. So, yeah, it was. It's been an interesting season. That's all I've got to say there. But it's still a game to go. Going to be a big party there.
Yeah, and they only got top 6 with that last-minute penalty against Livingston. Do you know what I mean? In the 33rd game. But yeah, look, you could also point out that Motherwell are in better form than us. They've got 6 points from their last 9, whereas we've only got 5 from our last 9. Ange must go.
There you go. So
that's not championship winning form. Too many draws.
Do you know what? One of my worries for both Celtic and Scottish teams is Celtic to a lesser extent, but with all like Motherwell and Dundee, and even Hearts, when they start playing European football, I don't think they're going to have the squad depth. I think we might see those teams plummet down the league. Just domestically, they'll
like St Johnstone did.
Yeah, just absolutely collapse. To be honest, who knows? It's going to be dependent on how their transfer windows go, and that also probably applies to us to a large extent as well. I think we need depth to then compete in what we are now confirmed Champions League football. But we'll need, we'll need more depth, more talent and depth and stuff. So, yeah, we'll see.
Oh my God. I want Real Madrid. I'm so sick of the fact we never draw them. We always get fucking Barcelona. I want to play Royal Madrid. I want to get off the crown.
Imagine saying that. I know, yeah. No, me too. It's a bit different.
It's great to be in a position into it when you're like, oh God, not Barcelona again.
Yeah.
We're going to get Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Benfica, or AC.
And Lyon. We always get Lyon as well.
Who's the other one?
Never played Chelsea. Sorry? Is that
we always get a French team. What's
Rennes?
Rennes.
No, we only played them for the first time recently.
It's 2 years in a row.
We played Lyon a couple of times. Going back to when Martin O'Neill was in charge.
Yeah, we did have Lyon a few times. No, I think it's because Lille and Rennes look like the same team. We kind of think merge those two together. There's those kind of mid-level French teams that all look the same. But yeah, it's always fucking Benfica and
all merged in one.
Yeah.
Well, that's the one good thing about this new Champions League format that's coming in the year after next. That I think John, was it yourself that posted the article about that yesterday?
Yeah, just in the group chat. Yeah,
John, I read that one that you posted, and that's actually outdated. That's there's been a news story in like yesterday, day before, whatever. It's actually an update saying they're going to actually change from the one. So they're not doing the 10-match format anymore. They're doing an 8-match format.
I also
And-
saw that this morning as well. Yeah. So
And rather than the two historical places that they were talking about is getting scrapped and going to go to like the top 2 leagues instead. So it'll be like England and Spain will get them instead.
I mean, look, the doing the 10 games because there was UEFA that did all those announcements, and then they've clearly had more consultations and scaled it back a bit. But yeah, 10 games. I think I've read that it would have been double the amount of Champions League games for like the entire competition. That's pretty.
Can't imagine why they would want to do that.
Yeah, but it's still gone from something like 120 to 190 games. That's still like an incredible increase in games that they're going to play. But yeah, the new. Look, me personally, I think the new format. It's 2024 that the format comes out, right? And it's you can go and like read it and stuff. For like the listeners, they're probably aware of it as well. But it's going to go into this sort of big group table rather than having individual groups of 4. And you know, you basically get your fixtures get arranged. You know, there'll still be the draws and stuff, and that'll be the games that you play in the sort of
so
European
still
leagues.
randomly drawn that.
Okay. Yeah. There'll still be pots. There'll be pot 1, pot 2, pot 3, and then you get it's basically 9 games is the minimum, and you get 2 fixtures from pot 1, 2 from pot blah 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 blah. Right? That's the exact same way. But it just means that someone like, I mean, in my opinion, it just means like some of those big draws that we say are draws, right? We say are big draws, but you know, others outside of watching Scottish football don't really think it's a massive achievement. I'm thinking of like the Man City games and stuff like that. They could be really big for us. That could really put us into the category of the league that then goes into the knockout stages, because it's the top 24, I think it is, or 26 or something like that, out of the 36 that go through to the knockout stages. Something like that.
Yeah, 24, because what it is the top 8 get a bye, and then the next 16 play off to play the top 8.
And then the top 8 of that gets seeded, and the bottom 8 of that gets unseeded, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, there's all the whole stuff's on. But yeah, so that means finishing 24th gets you through to the next knockout stage. So that's what you want, right?
I like the idea that there's more knockout games, because to be honest, if we're ever going to see another Steaua Bucharest or Dinamo Kiev or an unfancied team winning it, then knockout stages as opposed to a more league format gives them a better chance of that, because a team can produce one shock, but in a league format you would have to produce a series of shocks. You know, it's happened often that a team has beaten Real Madrid but then got absolutely horsed by them in the return game. You know, and
that was this season. Who was that?
Was it Sheriff?
Sheriff.
Yeah.
Aye.
Which
I'll just jump in here quickly, guys, and just say, anyone listening or watching on YouTube, just let us know your thoughts on this Champions League restructure in the comments. We're going to throw to the comments and go through some of that in a couple of minutes. So, on what you were saying, Sean?
I've forgotten. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, that Sheriff result was actually, I think they did a thing based on bookies odds. It was like by a massive distance, the biggest ever Champions League upset. Like, and I think Celtic beating Man U was second, if I remember correctly. When
they were something like 16-1 or something just to win that game. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was some madness.
Aye.
Christ, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
But I mean, look,
go on, John. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, like, quickly. It just means I think next season. It sounds silly, but next season is almost more important than this season, because it's that qualification for the 2024 season, and the money in that is going to be ridiculous. I think it's going to be upwards of 40-50 million, surely. More games, more big. The whole point is for the big teams, quote unquote big teams, to be playing each other more often, which means TV deals go higher and stuff. So yeah, next season could be a massive one to win. But let's just enjoy this one.
Yes.
All right. So last thing I'm going to just quickly throw out before we jump into the comments section. Bear with me. I've got this cough still from COVID. It's good fun. I just want to read something to you boys, just to get your reaction, and then we'll go through the comments, right?
Okay.
So, 7th of July 2021, Ange's first ever lineup. How many guys from last night do you think actually played? Take a rough guess before I go through the lineup.
Was that a friendly or a European game?
No, this is just the friendly, the first game.
Friendly. Okay.
First game he was in charge of.
Right. Pretty low. I'll say 2.
Yeah.
I'll say 3. I'll say 3.
All right, I'll just say 1.
Johnny's right, 1.
Yes.
So the
Who's that?
starting lineup was Barkas, Montgomery, Murray, Welsh, and Ralston. There's your starter. Sorrow, McInroy, Shaw, Henderson, Moffat, Ayeti. That's your starting lineup. The
Jeez.
bench of Bain, McPherson, Leo Held, O'Connor, Connell, Robertson, O2, Coffey, Afalabi, and Edward. And guys who were out injured at the time were McGregor, Forrest, Christie, and Taylor. So 3 of them were out injured.
So if Juranovic was fit, it would have been 0.
Yeah.
If Ralston was only 1, and that was and he would be on the bench if Juranovic was fit.
Yep, exactly. So it shows the level of from where we've come this season to where we're at now. Not only winning the league and overturning 25 points from last season, being down, 7 points early in the season, being behind 6 at the break, to then go and win and be 4 points up right now with a game to play. What a job. What a job we've done this season, guys. Let's not underplay anything. So we'll go through some comments and then we'll rehash the Hearts game because we're just going to quickly touch on that and then we'll go through some other stuff. So first comment I've got here was from Martin, who's a regular contributor and gets in the comments. Champions again, LA. Yep. 100%
Yep.
Martin. Brilliant.
Well said, mate.
The next one we've got is from Greg Hay. Seen a new emotional side to Ange after the game and I loved it. It's strange to see Ange basically unable to put into words what he was feeling, what he was thinking. He's usually a bit of a wordsmith. So what was your take on that, boys? Seeing Ange like that, was it something you expected to see?
No, but to me, it shows just how much he's put in. Because that's the sort of reaction you get when you've put in so much emotional and physical energy into a job, and then you succeed. I'll come back to me. There's a quote that I'll need to look up that's relevant to that, and so circle back to me.
Johnny?
No, I think we're all going to say something similar here. I did not expect that type of emotional reaction from Ange. He always seems to be quite a calm and well. He seems very articulate. Always well thought out comments that he makes, and you can clearly see that it meant a lot to him. And he did bring up a lot of the media doubting at the beginning, and then the first couple of games, and that clearly weighed on him. So he's clearly held on to this. He's taken it personally, and that has manifested into winning the fucking league, which is just brilliant to see. So yeah,
Yes.
I'm glad that he's his heart's fully in it. Clearly.
I'm going to break a wee bit from what you guys are saying here and actually say that I'm not that surprised that there was an emotional reaction here, because Ange has, for the entire season, absolutely bossed the media. He has, anytime they've tried to say something that's, derogatory or disrespectful, he has just shot them down. Like the other day when somebody asked him, how are you going to feel if Rangers slip up tomorrow and you end up winning the league by default? And he just went,
Kenny McIntyre.
He said, God's sake, mate, you guys have put a downer on anything. And I think last night was just, it all crystallised last night for Ange. He's like, all season, he has been slapping these mutants down, and now he can finally turn around and say, get up, please. And I do not blame him at all for getting a wee bit emotional about that, because I would probably be a hell of a lot more emotional in that position than he was.
Yep. The quote I found was from Vince Lombardi, and it kind of fits this perfectly. It's, "I firmly believe that any man's finest hour, the greatest fulfillment of all that he holds dear, is that moment when he has worked his heart out in a good cause and lies exhausted on the field of battle, victorious."
Excellent.
Well, Ange does go all in, so that sums it up perfect there. Like, yeah, what a man.
And if
So-
we're going to talk about that clown Kenny McIntyre, I'll add another quote. "I pay the fool, Mr. T."
All right, so we've got another comment here from Paddy Miller, who's on the Jungle Gyms podcast. He goes, hail guys from Scotland. Hope you're having a cracking day celebrating the title over in Oz and Japan. Big Ange has galvanised not only the team, but the worldwide Celts. 100%, mate. Hail. Like,
Certainly has, Paddy. Well said, mate.
and I can't wait to go down to the CSC on Saturday night because the game was at stupid o'clock this morning, so not really much of a celebration other than there's been buzzing in your lounge room or whatever. But yeah, on Saturday it's going to be pretty big, so it'll be good to see.
Yeah, I had to go to work for 11 hours after watching it. So this is my first real celebration. But then the Perth CSC are having a pub crawl on Saturday for Trophy Day. So it could get messy. So anyone in Perth that's listening, get down, have a good day. End up in Johnny Fox's.
Where are you going to watch the Trophy Day, Liam?
I'll be doing what I usually do. I'll have it on my big telly in the house with my dad and hopefully the wife as well if she's feeling up to it.
Yo, my couch CSC, gotta love it.
Well, unfortunately, that's the only way to do it here because there are literally no pubs in this city. So,
And John, get the floaties out, get down to the pub, or I think it's the Gap Soccer Club in Brisbane at the moment because of Magic Round with NRL. So,
it's a difficult one. I was just actually checking out the Brisbane CSC website just there. It doesn't seem like they can get anywhere because it is the Magic NRL, so it might just be a couch CSC as well, to be honest. But look, if they're doing something, 100% cracking on with those guys. I went to one of the games. I forget which one it was. It was a Rangers game, but I don't think it was the last one, but the one before that. And the atmosphere was pretty good. It's one of these Brisbane CSCs are a weird one at the moment because they're having to move about and find different venues every sort of game because where they used to have it on Queen Street Mall shut down during COVID. So it's a bit of an odd one. But there's a good bunch of lads.
I can tell you about that because I went to that old CSC venue and it was great. Nice big beer garden out the back, good setup. And then they've basically got two options. They've got this pub they're going to, but if it's a Saturday night because of AFL and NRL, they can't have bands playing on that. They can't have the sound going. Yeah. So you can either go in there, watch it on the TV without sound, or you can go like up to the Gap Soccer Club and they put it on their big screen there and they just do a full setup up there. So that's what's happening in Brisbane. So if you're up that way, head up. If you're on the Gold Coast, I think it's Finn McCool's they all go to. Adelaide, I think they found a new pub. In Melbourne, you've got the Vine, which is the Jockstein CSC, or you can go to Melbourne number 1 down at the Turf Bar, which is where I'll probably be. And then Sydney, I think it's Scruffy Murphy's is their pub. So yeah, fair bit of a turnout. Everyone get out there, celebrate it in Australia, celebrate it wherever you are in the world. Trophy Day. Can't wait.
The CSC in Doha was just whatever guy was willing to put people up in his house for that evening. You see how many people you could fit into the living room. There's no pubs really in Doha, you know.
Yeah.
If you're in Whyalla, you go out to the Whyalla CSC, which is out in the Brazen Shed in Gordon's backyard. It's a good setup.
That sounds all right as well. Yeah.
The Brazen Shed, I like that.
Roof,
I like that.
all around the walls. It's good setup. Yeah. There'll be a bit of a turnout on the weekend at the different CSCs over here. Celebrating the team, and yeah.
In Glasgow, there's as of yesterday, there was 5,000 people had responded to a social media event to go to Merchant City or Merchant Square. I forget which one it was. Yeah, they were saying bring pyro was one of the things they were saying. Merchant Square is indoors, so
yeah,
I'm not really sure how that's going to go.
got a weird little
Yeah.
courtyard, didn't it, with a roof? So just be
Yeah.
shooting it into. Yeah.
So I'm not really sure if that's serious or not, but it's certainly not an area that has a capacity for thousands, put it that way.
No.
Last comment
Wow.
here for you is from Theo. Trying to get a petition out to turn Ibrox into a shopping mall has to happen.
Sure
Tesco
does.
FC.
Well, the thing is, I mean, they usually shop in Poundland for a lot of their signings anyway, so you might as well just put it all under one roof, you know?
Oh man. Well, unless let's not talk about them.
No.
Yeah. Let's,
No,
let's just not.
There'll be more to come on them later.
Yeah.
There's Merchant City, Sean, in the comments.
Merchant City. Okay, so it's going to be Merchant City is pretty spread out, so that'll be interesting. I guess everyone will be spread out across all the pubs, but Merchant City is traditionally certainly like after a European game at Celtic Park, that's where you head to, and you get some great atmospheres, even in the Brazilian club around there. Some great nights. After the night after we beat Barcelona, I went into the Brazilian bar / nightclub there. Oh, some night, great.
Yep.
So we got another question here. How was the coverage in Australia and Japan? So
Well, it was 2:30 in the morning in Western Australia, 4:30 for you, Jared. Liam has no pubs. Or did he mean?
no, I'm talking probably the media coverage,
the
I'd
media.
say.
Oh, it's been full on. Yeah.
It's been insane. Like you've got the A leagues going at. I've shared in our Facebook group. You've got like all Ange's former clubs in the A League. So Brisbane and Melbourne have said things. You've had things from South Melbourne. There's all sorts of everyone involved. The A League page, the Socceroos page, everyone, Optus Sports, Fox Sports. They're all over at the moment. It's insane to actually see Celtic getting mainstream coverage in the sports media over here. We didn't get that 12 months ago. So yeah, it's good to see.
I've got students in school coming up to me and saying congratulations. I've got people texting me that couldn't spell the word Celtic, but know I'm a Celtic fan and saying congratulations, or well done. And so they're seeing it somewhere. I don't know where. It must be on like the morning news. I don't watch that shit, but it must be on there because they know about it and they're texting me to say good job, So
yeah, I've had my mum's second cousins in Sydney who I haven't spoken to in 2-3 years tagging me things saying, Jared, well done on Facebook and stuff like that. It's insane. I've got my cousins doing the same. It's different.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like we would never make the news here for something like that. That quadruple treble didn't make the news. Do you know what I mean? Like, and now that Postecoglou's won it, it's it's literally on the mainstream news, and we've got an election coming up. Do you know what I mean? Like, how anything else is even getting in the news? Is, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. 2 weeks away, and
next weekend. Yeah, next weekend's election. Yeah. And
I
usually
think, we're just proud. We're just a very proud nation. Do you know what I mean? And it's good. It's good to feel. It's good to see. That's. I mean, Jared, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but Ange is probably considered Australia's most successful or most talented football manager. Do you know what I mean? So to see him doing well over in Europe for the first time, an Australian manager's come over to Europe. It's a proud nation right now. It's nice. It's nice to feel. Nice to see.
It's kind of like we've had the guys show that we can play football in Europe. Guys like, you got your Harry Kewells, your Mark Vidukas, before
Tim
that
Cahill.
there was. What was that?
Tim Cahill.
Yeah, Tim Cahill. Before that, you even had you guys like your Craig Johnson back at Liverpool in the 80s, 90s, whatever that was. We've had these guys that have proved that our players are good enough to do it in Europe. But we've never had that coach break through like this. Like Ange went over after he finished with the youth national teams and was coaching in the lower leagues of Greece, had his team chasing promotion and then left because of politics at the club. Came back here to Brisbane and off he went. Everyone knows the history from there. So he didn't do it then. You've had Tony Popovich go over twice, once to Greece, once to Turkey. Didn't work. You've had Kevin Muscat go to Belgium and flop. They're the guys who have all been over there. The only Aussie coach that I'd put on a similar sort of level with what Ange is doing now is Joe Montemurro, who was the former Arsenal women's coach and is currently the manager of Juventus's women's team. That's the equivalent. You've got Ange and you've got Joe. They're the two Aussie coaches proving that we can do it. Not only can we play the game, but we know the game. So that's why everyone's so hyped up about this. It's breaking that glass ceiling and saying, if you're good enough as a player, you can make it. If you're good enough as a manager, you can make it. Go chase that. Go chase your goals, guys. Live your dreams. Go do it. So that's why everyone's so like getting all inspired by this at the moment.
So we should always caveat Ange coming over to Europe as the only Australian manager to manage a men's European team. Because did Joe come before Ange then?
Oh, Joe's been over there for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, right. Okay, so the men's European team, but yeah,
you have to wonder if part of the problem here is like the size of the A-League. Like, there's literally in the whole of Australia, which is like the size of Europe on its own, there's 11 professional football teams. 12 if you include New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah.
So the whole of Australia and New Zealand, there's 12 professional football teams. That's 12 head coaches with the possibility of proving themselves and moving on to a higher level.
The funny thing with that, Sean, though, is what you're saying is there's 12 teams, yes, but until COVID lockdown last year, there was only one team with an international coach last year, and that was Western Sydney, who had Carl Robinson managing them. Every other team over here was managed by an Australian coach, which was the first time in history there's been double figures for that in the A-League. So we haven't had that level of coaches coming through, not even in the old NSL. So it was good on that regard, but the problem with the A-League is there's a lot of recycling. So coaches go from club to club over here, and players go from club to club to club to club like that because of the salary cap. So I see what you're saying, and I agree. We need a national second division, but I want to make that from the NPL for me, where it's the teams who used to be in the NSL, new clubs who want to come into the A-League, but we're not ready for promotion relegation because of the finances of it. So if you're going to do that over here to make more opportunities, then you want to go, all right, let's have a second division of 12 teams as well, but they've got to stay in that league for 3 years, prove they're financially viable, and get everything under control. And then at the end of that third year, then it's promotion relegation. That's how I'd do it.
Do you see the A-League in Australian football getting to a much higher standard than Jared? Because and potentially somewhere that Ange can come and find little gems like he did with the J-League. I was listening to another pod, English guy and a bunch of Aussies talking about the A-League, and apparently there's like a 15-year-old that started recently in the A-League and banged, I think it's 3-4 goals in his first 3 appearances or something like that. And he's 15, which is kind of unheard of. Yeah.
Young kid in Adelaide. Yeah, he's that's the thing with the A-League. Like, the problem is because there's no promotion relegation, there's no threat on managers to there's no real pressure. The 6 teams make finals, so half the teams make it. So the problem you've got is you don't really see young kids come through. You've never really seen that. You might see 1 or 2 a season. That's it across the league. Because of last year, with not many internationals coming out, a lot of the teams got a hell of a lot younger, and those kids are starting to come through into the league now this season. So, COVID was good for anything. It was good for the Aussie coaches. It was good for the young kids coming through. But eventually you're going to get to the point where you're going to hit that glass ceiling again, because there's only so many players in your squad. There's only so many teams. Where do the rest of these kids, if they don't break through and make the first team, where are they going to end up? They drop back to an NPL team, and then they're part-time and they've got to go stack shelves or something during the week or do something else. And then next thing you know, that's how you lose a generation of talent. So if there was a second division for them to go to that was also full-time, then at least there's something for them to go to play. And these coaches coming up, you've been an assistant coach or assistant manager at A-League level for 3-4 years. You can't get that first team job. Go back to an NPL team or the national second division, manage there and bring your team up once promotion relegation happens. That's the best way to get those pathways and keep growing this league. And then once that happens, John, then what you're saying about us becoming more like a J-League could happen. But at the moment, the J-League has just exploded, where they've got 3 leagues of how many teams is it, Liam? Is it 20 teams in each league?
Yeah. There's also what's called the Japan Football League, which is a tier below that as well, where the teams are, I think, semi-professional. So there is a pyramid system in Japan for teams to, because that's how Yamaga, the team I'm wearing tonight, that's how they started out in the Japan Football League, and then they eventually moved up to the J League. So there is that structure there.
So realistically, what I compare the A League to is the two closest leagues for us to be compared to would be the J League and the MLS, because the MLS is salary capped, and they've got the US Football League as their second division, and those teams are coming up into the MLS, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. So that's one pathway, but we're probably maybe 10, 15 years behind that in terms of they've got infrastructure. They're buying their own, building their own stadiums. So they've got that. There's bricks and mortar. They're actually locking in the club's future. We don't have that over here. We can get the NPL clubs in, and we can grow and do that side of it while having a similar structure to what Japan's got in terms of development and structure and build it up. Maybe this could happen because the biggest junior participation sport in Australia is football.
The other aspect as well, which the Americans have got down to a T, which I think is also big here in Japan, is that the women's game and the men's game, there's a lot more sort of interconnectivity between the organising bodies. For example, here in Nagano, we've got a team, as well as Yamaga, there's also Nagano Parcero. Now, their men's team is in the 3rd division, J3, but their women's team is in the Women's Premier League. So they actually have an agreement where the men play at home one week and the women play at home the next. So every week there is this, and it's a stadium that was originally built for the 1998 Winter Olympics. So it's a big stadium, and you have that big stadium atmosphere. My wife and I have been to see both the men's and the women's teams at different times, and the atmosphere is excellent, and the foundation is clearly being built, but it's being built with, the men's and women's teams as a united unit. You see posters up all around the shops here, and it'll say Parcero's upcoming fixtures, and it's like men's team on these dates, women's team on these dates, and you'll have pictures of both teams on the poster. I think they call it cross-pollination of their marketing, and the idea is that, people like me, me and the wife go to see it, I'll see the men's team, she'll see the women's team, or we'll both go and watch both together. That's the kind of demographics that I'm in at. And I think that in Australia, you've got a fairly decent women's team as well, haven't you, at a national level?
Oh, they're amazing. They're one of the best.
The women's team are unreal. And in the W League over here, so they play. So what they've had previously at my club, Melbourne Victory, you've had your season ticket for the men's, but then the women's play elsewhere, and you never see them. This season, they had them playing curtain raisers before the men's most of the time. So I saw them play a good 4 or 5 times at least.
Excellent.
And so I saw them, and then they've gone on and win the comp. So I actually sat here at home watching the women's grand final going, come on, because I know those players because I've seen them play. So now I'm actually more excited to watch them next year and see what happens and who makes the soccer, the Matildas and that side of things. So
it was it was the same for us, actually, because the first time we went to see Parcero ladies, I can't remember the lady's name, but their striker ended up making the World Cup squad for Japan later that same year. So it was great to watch the Women's World Cup on the telly and be like, oh, I've seen that lassie play live. That was a really good feeling,
Yeah, we've got the same Perth, Jared, we've done it for a couple of years now with the curtain raiser games. So you go, if you go 2 hours early or however early, you can catch some of the women's game before the men come on, get a couple of pints. But that's one thing you don't get in Scotland. You can't have a pint before the game, so you can't really make a day of it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
because it'd be a war zone if you did. Drinking all in the morning and
I mean, they hardly go into the game after a bottle of Buckfast. Is that going to be, if you give them a chance to get mid-strength lager during a game, which one's going to be worse? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, that's actually a very valid point. And who's to say you couldn't bring that tiny little bottle of Bucky in with you as well?
Well,
Who
as
would,
we've
who would
seen
ever
in-
do such a thing?
Yeah, as we've seen very recently, that it hardly stops them, does it? Like the
No.
ban on it. It's like, because I can't have a pint, so what I'm going to do instead is just take a half bottle of vodka in. So, which is worse?
That's a very good point. Very good point. But it makes you sleepy as well, so arguably subdue you.
That's a thing though. In Japan, it's a necessity. See, if you're watching a game in summer, you need to have a couple of cold pints, otherwise you'll be dehydrated. It really is just like it gets so warm and humid here during the summer. And we've got, I don't know if you get the same in Australia, but we've actually got the girls that walk up and down the aisles with like the beer keg, and they'll pour you a pint basically at your seat. It's fantastic.
All right, guys, we've been given the hurry up here by RL77. Come on, guys. I have to talk about our Magic Celtic are, and I was actually just about to do that when we finish this conversation. So, Sean, I'll quickly just throw to you. Just give us a quick overview. 4-1 win against Hearts, because we said we'd touch on it earlier. We don't need to get into too much detail on it. Then we'll crack on to the other stuff.
Yep, quick synopsis. First half, 20 minutes, we were piss poor. It had shades of the Wraith Rovers game when Andrew Postecoglou bagged them out. Then we just weren't moving. Then we picked it up, and after half an hour, when we scored the first goal, when Jota and Callum McGregor just decided by force of will to take control of the game, we massacred them after that. The referee had quite a few, and linesman, I should say, had quite a few involvements in the game. The Hearts goal at the start, which actually I say was not offside. Anyone disagree?
The Hearts goal?
Yeah.
I think it was borderline. I've seen them given either way.
I'll tell you what I think, Sean.
My opinion.
If you have VAR, it's onside. If you have no VAR, most of the time that's offside. That's flagged offside.
Yeah, I agreed. Yes, that's right. I agree with that. The equaliser, Hearts pissing and moaning about the foul. So I actually watched it back just before I came on, just to kind of see it again. And my initial reaction was actually that is a foul. But then when they go in slow motion, like go in and show the replay closer up, I'm like, oh shit, no, actually it's not. But my kind of thing about it is I'm surprised the referee doesn't give it, because at first viewing it does look a foul, but then when you watch it back, it's not. So that was actually a good call from the ref, and get up you, Craig Gordon and Robbie Nielsen. And then the one that was hilarious in the post match was the ball being over the line from the Kyogo header, and then the linesman taunting Craig Gordon at half time. How about that decision, Craig? And and then Nielsen and Gordon both complaining about the linesman getting the decision right was absolutely delicious.
That was one of the most mental things ever.
Yeah, can't believe he got that right.
I can't believe that was the correct decision. Yeah.
Yeah, we should have got that incorrect decision in our favour. Like, I've never seen anything like that before. And then, obviously, all completely ignoring the fact that Jota scored a perfectly legitimate onside goal that was chopped off for offside. And then they can piss and moan about whether that Giakoumakis one was offside or not, but I'm not even going to go into it. But yeah, we were great. We were poor for 20 minutes. We woke up. Jota was unreal. Callum McGregor was unreal. And we massacred them for the last hour.
If you can't win the league against Sevco, then battering the mini Huns a couple of days before you win the league is the next best thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. It was that. Do you know what? Honestly, you're right. First 20 minutes was dire, but after we'd sort of woken up a bit, I think their goal really woke us up as well, which should never happen. But I think we generally played. That was some really good football at times. Do you know what I mean? That was actually the sort of Ange ball stuff that we were more used to of recent. So.
Yeah,
enjoyed it. Good game.
We mentioned it on our chat, and Jared mentioned it on Axum. We were debating about whether we were being just too slow or whether people weren't moving. But yeah, it was really, there was a team-wide problem in the first 25 minutes, and then we kind of just clicked into gear.
Honestly, it was the psychology of those types of games people talk about it a lot, but probably underestimate it massively. As soon as you get a couple of players who might be a little bit anxious or taken over by the occasion, that spreads like a disease through teams. Especially if it's a couple of your big players and stuff, it really affects how those tiny little unconscious decisions that a team makes. It's the same in like any other sport, to be honest. But so I reckon that's what it was. It was the beginnings of a very important game, which everybody knew. Winning that pretty much, maybe not officially, but technically did it for us. And after they just sort of gotten over it, then all back to normal.
We've had spells of looking nervous lately, like the end of the Sevco game, start of the Hearts game, the end of that Dundee United game. And look, it kind of actually got me thinking, like, why are we not, we've got enough quality, we've shown it over these last 6 months. Why are we not just imposing our quality on these teams? And it kind of got me thinking that quality is not all that matters. You need to have confidence and determination. And I'm not saying we lack determination, but if you're nervous energy, that can really deflate your confidence. And it kind of actually made me think about last year when we did so badly. And it's like, well, we literally kept that team together from the 9 in a row season. We refused to let any players leave. So it's not like there was a drop in quality. So like, why did that champion team go to such a bad team? And it's like, well, they lacked one, determination. Players like Edward and wanted out the door. So, and then they slowly, after started okay, and then confidence went. So if you don't have that determination and confidence, your quality can only carry you so far. And,
But the thing is as well, going back to what John said, anxiety is infectious. And if you look at last season as the example, right, we never had a settled goalkeeper the whole season.
Yeah.
And that just unsettled the whole defence, which unsettled the entire team. Whereas this season, we've got one excellent centre-back, we've got one centre-back who has improved as the seasons went on, and we've got a top-class goalkeeper. And I think that is the spine that has allowed the entire team to be rebuilt and really, I'm sure that at a later time we'll discuss our players of the year, but for me, Joe Hart has got to be part of that conversation because he has brought a stability to the Celtic backline that just was not there last season.
I'll tell you what, Jota, first ever player to win 3 Player of the Months in one season.
Well, here's one for you as well. Real Hatate. Has anybody else ever won 2 league titles in 5 months?
Probably.
Mikkel Lustig, that's about it. I think it could potentially, he could have done it when he left Rosenborg to come to us.
Aye.
That's the only one I could possibly think of. But even that, I'm not sure of.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be some other random one like that.
There you go. I mean, the nervous energy, that's something to watch out for Champions League stuff next year. I think a little bit of nervousness definitely helps performance of the occasion, but what we don't want is just to bottle it like we've done as of late. I'm thinking PSG's, I'm thinking Barcelona's the last time. Big embarrassments there. We just want to avoid that.
What about that, though? Like, those games, we completely got outplayed and we got smashed and there was no plan B. You have a look at first time we played Leverkusen this season just gone, we got done 4-0, right? But the play was there. They took their chances. We didn't. Then you have a look at what we did against Betis. Same deal. We played well against them in both games. So, and then we played Leverkusen the second time. Again, it was a good quality game. I can see good signs there that we'll be able to make that step up. Yes, we're going to need a bit of recruitment. Keep Jota, keep Carter Vickers, a couple of other recruits, but there's I've got a good feeling about it.
I tell you what, this has been in my mind recently, and I'm more confident about Europe than I have been going into it in the past. And it's not because we're playing any differently or better, or I feel differently about the manager. It is more to, those are all factors, but it's the squad profile that we're taking in this time. In the past, it's always been a lot of kind of signing 19 to 22-year-old players, developing them, exposing them to the Champions League, and then they move on. Look at the ages of players we're signing this time. Mohamed, I don't know how you say his name, Yahazi, something like that. He's like 25. Kyogo signed, he was 26. You know, we're not even Hatate and Maeda are 23, 24. We're signing players that are coming into their peak, and we're not holding on to players moving in. Beton's going to go. Rumors are Rogic is going to go. Forrest is getting sidelined. These are players that are moving into their age 30 year, so age 30 season, and we're really getting that kind of 24 to 28-year-olds age profile, which is peak physicality, peak ability. Whether those players are better or not, it's from what you can get, you're getting them at their peak, and that gives you a better chance, I reckon.
Absolutely.
I have to agree with that. And it's also another thing you're saying about you got these guys, well, we've got them on long-term contracts, the majority of them as well. So going into the Champions League is not like it's a guy who wants to put himself in the shop window and we've got to sell him because he's got 18 months left on his deal. And it's also, because we don't have to go through qualifiers, now we don't have to wait to sign the players, because what we normally do is, did we qualify? Okay, here's your checkbook. Now go and bring people in last minute. So you're paying overs for people or you're buying the wrong player. So what you just said there, Sean, you touched on the next few talking points here that I had on the list, but rumours of Biton leaving. Okay, I'm happy for him to stay, but if he was to leave, then that opens up the spot where I said on Axel the other day, do we bring in another big physical number 6 to play that role, like a Wanyama type, or does that open up a spot for Itaguchi to step in and take that spot next season? Maybe that's the forward planning we've got. So that position's covered. Maeda's confirmed that his loan deal is going to become permanent in the summer, so it's guaranteed to happen. Happy days. And then you touched on Mohamed, what is it, Jay-Z or something like that? 2 million from Hammarby in Sweden, an Iraqi international. We've been talking about, okay, we want a European quality left back in the same way that we've got Juranovic at right back with Ralston as his backup, who's good enough for the league. Taylor's good enough for the league. Is this our guy for that left back spot? Let's hope so. I mentioned on the pod on Axel the other day that maybe we should look at Libby Kachachi, or however you say it, who's a New Zealander left back who's playing in Belgium, but he's on loan. He's on loan at Empoli in the Serie A, but he's at a club in Belgium. Maybe we should look at him because it's like 3 to 5 million euro sort of range. So, and then this guy was announced the next day. So there's options there, but it's all about finding the right sort of player with the right age profile and the skill set. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
I think it's also a big. Sorry, I was going to say. I think it's also a big thing that we're not going to have to play all these daft qualifiers in July.
Huge.
That is a massive thing, because we always, every season, we get caught cold with that, and the fact that we can bypass that this year is really gonna, we can go out and play some friendlies and experiment, and we can hit the ground running at the start of August for the league season, and then the Champions League from September, with hopefully by that point a fully settled and established first team squad with some additions to come in. That's huge for me, and I think you cannot underestimate the difference that's going to make for us.
Think about the kind of break that someone like Juranovic is going to get since he started his holiday basically 2 weeks ago. Do you know what I mean? Because he's been injured. So he's basically getting 2 months off. Like, unless he plays for Croatia next week, but in 2 weeks' time, which that's possible because he will be coming back. Okay. But there will be players that are not on international duty that are just going to get a really nice big break right now.
Yeah.
Sean, the two people that jump out to me in our squad who have been playing 60-odd games a year for the last, 5 years, Kelmack's going to get a break for once. When does that happen?
Five Scotland games to play first.
Yeah, but at least he's not going to be playing like have a 2-week window like last year.
Yeah.
He's got to have that bit extra time there. And yes, James, he's been injured the last couple of years, but he's another guy that if he wasn't injured, he would have been playing all the time as well. So yeah, it's going to be good to see.
Yeah. I do wonder about that. Like, yeah, there's those Scotland games, man. Like, just how do you end up with 5 Scotland games? I know why it is, but like, still, like, it's not good for the players, is it?
No.
No. Although, if that means next season there's less chance of us losing players to injury when they're on international duty, then that's where you're going to feel the positive aspect of the grind that's coming now. You know.
Mm.
Do you feel we'll go away in the summer and spend most of the Champions League money? Do you think that's it? No, me neither. I actually don't think we'll spend that big at all. I think we might see maybe 15 to 17 mil spent. Well,
I'd be surprised if it's even that much.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised just for the fact that we've got a bunch of guys we've got to get off the wage bill. So you're going to have some Champions League money, but you're going to have guys like, okay, we're not going to get a lot of money for Barkas and a Yeti, but we'll get something back and get them off the wage bill. So there's some money. If you get 2 million for each of them, well, there's your left back paid for. Then you can go get another one. Like Juranovic cost how much? Was it 2.5, 3 million? Like
something like that.
It's massive. You can flip those guys, piss them off, do that. And then you got the same deal. Like, what's going to happen with Julian? See, what happens with then Ballet? What happens with the guys who have a year left, like Biton, Rogic, and Forrest?
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be movement in the squad there. Every squad needs that. You need the freshening up. But Andrew's already come out and said the process isn't going to change. We're just going to identify our players. We want to get them in early, get a full preseason in them, and off we go. So,
see this with all these rumors and chat about. So like the Biton one's obvious, right? But to me, it's weird that it's that way around, right? Because like Julian, Forrest, Rogic are all like, well, Rogic maybe not. Rogic has been very valuable, but Forrest and Julian in particular, very much riding the bench this year, very much, squad players. But their wages are going to be like 15 to 20,000 a week. They're going to be some of the highest earners alongside Rogic at the squad. So Biton's obviously going to be nowhere near that. He's going to be one of the players that's on like maybe 6 or 8 grand. So if you're talking about who you're going to move on, it would make more sense to keep Biton and move on someone that's earning so much money. Do you know what I mean? Like, how much does that free up to bring someone in?
The other thing is as well, the markets that Ange has operated in thus far in the transfer market are traditionally markets where players are not that expensive. If you think like North and Eastern Europe, where we get guys like Juranovic and Starfelt, right? Asia for the Japanese contingent. He's probably going to look at some players in Australia, I would think. These are traditionally markets where that kind of hyperinflation that has sent prices crazy in like England, Germany, Spain, and Italy has not hit yet. But you can still get players of similar quality. You can sign a guy like Kyogo, and if Kyogo was English, he'd be a 35, 40 million pound striker right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
would you? If you said to me right now, "Oh, we'll swap you Edward for Kyogo," you would say no, right?
No chance.
Would anyone take Edward back and send Kyogo back for zero sum? No, right? You wouldn't. But like when Kyogo, but at the same time, if Crystal Palace sold Edward just now, they'd get whatever 20 million. Whereas if someone came to buy Kyogo from us, we'd be lucky to get 10. And it's just because wherever the club he goes to next is getting the last of his peak years. He's no more selling. So say Southampton sign him, they know they can't sell him on to Arsenal after that, or Liverpool. They know that he's coming just to score goals for Southampton and then leave. So that's why we're not going to get the same money that we would for Ayer or Edwards. Do you know what I mean? That's the problem with the signing these players in this age profile, is you don't get that money from the teams in the lower half of the English Premiership. And look, you could easily make the argument that signing players in a higher age profile that get you the 40 million Champions League money every year is actually better business, I would make that argument, or try to. You certainly could make that argument, but you know, like, who's to say what's right? You know, Ajax go with developing their young players for nothing, not nothing, but for no real transfer fee. Porto and Benfica go with the model of spending 8 figures on a player to sell them on at the age of 22. You know, like, I don't know what's right, what's wrong, but like, you have to find what works for your club, what your niche is in the market. You know, what's your local pool of talent, that sort of thing.
We have to look. Sorry, go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, just on that, we really have to now. We can no longer really compare ourselves to the Dutch and the Portuguese leagues, because they are already quite a way ahead of us. And now with this new Euro format, I was reading that the Dutch league is going to massively benefit from the new format. So they're gonna really race away from us if we don't do something about it. You know, if we don't consistently make Champions League, etc., etc. So like we have to really rethink, like exactly what you're saying, Sean. Like, you know, you look at these other teams, maybe like the Ajaxes and the Portos, etc., and they say, well, they're investing a lot into their youth. Maybe we just don't have that luxury anymore. Maybe we do just need to go buy ready-made players that can come in and just get us to the Champions League, and then sell them on for really nothing at all, and maybe just let their contract run out. But you know, that's the only way we're really going to make. That needs to be our business model for the short term, at least.
I'm not sure we could ever copy any models that the likes of Ajax and Porto do, because their fans will accept a down year, whereas our fans would not.
Yeah,
like we demand domestically. I mean, like they can accept development years, maybe even 2, for in the case of Ajax, whereas Celtic fans would not accept that. So we can't just copy that model. We have to have our own model that works for us. But in that same thought, whatever I see Ajax or Porto do in Europe, I'm seeing that and thinking, we can do that. If we get our strategy right, if we get our ducks in a row, if we hit lucky on a manager and a couple of players and a couple of maybe youth gems at the same time, whatever their ceiling is should be the same as our ceiling. We just need to maximize what we can do to reach that same ceiling.
See, the other thing is the potential. Now, what you said a minute ago, Sean, just to take it back a wee bit, you were talking about players that are already at their peak now are not going to have as great a resale value, guys like Kyogo and whatever. The one possible, the one possible variable in that is the World Cup. The fact that we've got this World Cup coming up in November, and depending on who we sign, who stays, who goes, we could have 10, maybe 12 players at that World Cup. And you know, if any of their countries becomes like, you know, like Cameroon was in 1990 or South Korea was in 2002, you know, the shock country that gets to like the quarterfinals or the semi-finals, suddenly, if we own any of those players, we're going to get offered tens of millions for them.
I think that's a great point, Liam, particularly in regard to Japan, who are in a group with Germany and Spain. So say Kyogo goes out and scores 4 goals in that group, he's gone for 25 million. Do you know what I mean? You're 100% right. Like the World Cup, if one thing that inflates a player's value is the World Cup, if they do well. And it's a small sample size as well, because you get 3, 4, 5 games. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's very different. Yeah.
I'm actually quite confident about Japan's group, simply because Spain and Germany, there's always one of the two bottles at the World Cup. Always one of those two will bottle it. So I think Japan could sneak through as a second team in that group, possibly. But wait and see.
And, well, especially with Costa Rica or New Zealand as the other team.
Aye.
So, like, they're going to do well against Costa Rica or New Zealand, in theory, at least. Well, let's assume it's Costa Rica. And then, and if they can get an upset against Spain, who are in a transition period, you know, But I mean, we could probably spend a whole show on that, and we're well over an hour now, so that's probably one for the summer.
We probably will do that in the you know, over the off season when there's, you know, no games, so we've got to come up with something for content. That sounds like a good conversation piece, that one.
For sure.
So, Liam,
Yeah.
I asked you to run this segment for us today of Zombie Watch.
It has been a week of hilarity amongst the Hunnery. What can I say? Let's start off with the various stories that I've heard about the trials and tribulations of various Huns trying to get to Seville. One person gleefully posted all over Twitter about how he had managed to bag a bargain flight and hotel package because he knew that Rangers were going to get to the final months ago. Posted his full itinerary on Twitter. A particularly industrious person, who I'm assuming was a Celtic supporter, called up the company and cancelled all the booking on his behalf. And he's now having to pay about £2,000 or £3,000 to try and get something not quite as good as what he had before. There's also the massive Masonic elephant in the room, which is the new Rangers third kit, which is orange and blue. Now, I was talking about this with my dad, and he actually made an interesting point. He said that Huns that he has spoke to have tried the old tactic of, it's because we've got a Dutch manager. It's in homage to all the Dutch players who've played for Rangers down the years. Now, Rangers have had, I think, something like about 15 Dutch players in their history. They've had more than 20 players from Northern Ireland. So I look forward to the day when Rangers will launch an emerald green kit in tribute to all those Northern Irishmen that have played for them down the years.
Yep.
But yeah, there was also the. I'll close out with this one because we don't want to talk too much about them today because it's about us. It's not about them. But the one that really tickled me, I got sent the other day. Somebody was saying that their friend of a friend, desperate to get to Seville, but there are no direct flights to Seville anymore unless you pay funny money. But he's found a way around it. He's going to fly to Tenerife and then get a train to Seville. So yes, stupid is as stupid does. Yes.
I hope those underwater trains, here they move pretty quick.
That bugger will end up in Morocco.
I wonder if they're actually calling that strip orange this time, because last time they called it tangerine.
Aye.
Who knows? All right, so what we'll do, quickly we'll touch on the game on the weekend. Celtic versus Motherwell on Saturday. We've already discussed where we're going to be watching it. What are you guys thinking? Batter them, go out in style for me, 4-1.
I'm going to...
So the people in the audio can hear.
7-0.
Here's one for you. I think it was you, Jared, that said at the start of the season that we are going to put 10 past somebody. We've got one more game to do it. Might as well be this one. Yep, I'll go for 10. I'll go for 10-1 because I think we might lose an early goal and then rattle in a few.
Right. Well, I don't know. I think we're playing, boys and maybe bench warmers for this game. But
let's go for trophy day. Trophy day. Come on.
He rested guys last night.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, he rotated last night. Yeah, he's not going to do it.
Yeah. Do you know what? Yeah. Fair. They'll go full bang. All right. I'll go 5-0.
We want to
go out with a bang.
I think we'll see Chris Julian at some point during the game.
Yeah. I was thinking about Julian last night. Maybe Dembele gets a game. Do you know what I mean? People like that. Maybe Turnbull starts.
Once we're up, 6 or 7, like Sean's saying, on the way to Liam's 10-0, maybe that's when you can bring some guys on and give them a farewell sort of thing.
A Yeti.
A
Yeti last goal scorer.
Golly, there you go.
I think we'd be better off actually starting a Yeti rather than a Jetty.
Yeah.
Hat-trick. So, opening hat-trick from Ayeti.
All right. So we'll jump to our final thoughts for the pod. I'll go first. I a lot of people have been saying a lot of shit about James Forrest lately, but all I want to say is he's now within 2 trophies of Bruni's haul at the club. So, yeah, just well done to him for being around the club for so long. And yeah, let's see if next season he equals him or get the treble and goes past Bruni. John, your thoughts?
Well, mine very topical from what we were discussing earlier with women's football. Is very much just one of that. As much as we've enjoyed this week and stuff, we've still got a ways to go within Scottish football. Where recently we had the Scottish Football Writers Gala or Association, and we had quite a few walkouts from some of the female pundits. The most notable one seems to be Ailish Barber seems to be the one where that's all hitting all the headlines. So, we've still got a bit to go. Apparently the walkout was to do with some misogynistic and racial speeches that were actually presented in front of the people. So, yeah, still got a bit to go in that space, but it's good to see women's football getting more recognition.
There were some anti-Japanese racist jokes, apparently.
Yeah.
Par for the course for that bastard Bill Copeland. I've heard stories about him, but those are not for publication.
And the football writers didn't apologise. They said we're sorry that people were offended.
Yeah,
so
that's not an apology.
It's not an apology. No, it's not.
I'm not racist, but it's that sort of stuff, isn't it?
I'm sorry people were offended. Yeah, we're not sorry for being offensive. We're sorry you were offended.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, what's your final thought?
What did you hear about the blind rabbi?
No.
He got the sack.
Okay. That was that one. Give me a minute.
That was such that was such a swing in topics.
Well,
I got a circumcision myself last week. Never again. Never again.
Aye, but did you I bet you let the staff keep the tips though, didn't you?
Oh.
It's been a long day, everyone. We've been up since
I was going to take a job at the circumcision clinic once, but in the end I found out there was just too many drawbacks.
Oh.
Right.
Bill Copeland can have those jokes.
The importance, as an English teacher, I recognise the importance of spelling and grammar. Unfortunately, our friends from across the city seem not to, which is why apparently in Clydebank this week there is a Rangers fan stuck with a load of Savile 2022 t-shirts that he's unable to sell. So, always check your spelling.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the Celtic Down Under podcast via your podcast app. Please also subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're on Facebook, please like our page, join our Facebook group. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Celtic Down. Other than that, hail, hail.
Hail,
Hail, hail.
Champions. Champions, champions, oe, oe, oe.
Job it.